Welcome to Storytime. This is episode 2, and tonight we're going to be reading Daily Bread, issue 3. Issue 3 was the issue right before I started subscribing, so this was probably 1993, maybe? What date is it? I'd say 1993, maybe end of 93, beginning of 94. Doesn't have a date in it. The other one did. At the time, Daily Bread was the only magazine. I believe Box Magazine was just getting started. And if you look at the cover, you can see, some of the stars of skating at the time. Chris Edwards obviously doing a judo McTwist, which was an amazing trick. If you look at his skates too, his skates were these TRS that he painted to look like patent leather shoes. He had a 45-degree strap, probably a crank strap or something, and super interesting. I don't know what his setup was. Had big wheels on the outside though, so definitely big. In the infamous boneless knee pads and Protec helmet, of course. On the deck from the left, you see Pat Parnell, who went on to be TV announcer and sports announcer. Brooke Howard-Smith, everybody's favorite from New Zealand. Angie Walton, third from the left. And then I don't know who the fourth is in the flyaway helmet. I don't recognize them. But it's great cover. Vert skating was huge back then. And to see Chris Edwards skate vert, that must have been, he was the best of the best. Looking at how tall Brooke is and that he was looking up, Chris was probably 8 feet up there. That's just, for those days, that's incredible. Daily Bread Skate Magazine, the blue issue, number 3. How to Air, Ivano, Contests, Grinding, and New Products. If you look at the side, you can see it's a close-up of a frame with a Senate wrench and an anti-rocker setup. And it looks like Cosmos on the outside. Really interesting. Not a Senate wrench, sorry, Rollerblade wrench. What was I thinking? The original wrenches, the ones that came in the box. The inside page, the graphic design back in the days left a little to be desired. Inline Sports was, so it was an ad for Inline Sports, and Inline Sports was my local skate shop. It is where I met Ted Simpson, who was working at Inline Sports, and he was working there, and he was the guy that went on to start 50/50. They've got these specials. So the number one special is the Lightning 608 with a free grind plate, $25 value for $139. So that's like comparable to, the USD Sway nowadays, I guess, or maybe like a Powerside Fusion or something. The Macro Blade Equip, never heard of that. Free knee, wrist, and elbow pads, a $50 value for $250. That's a good deal. And then the Lightning TRS with a free grind plate, $25. Again, $169 for the Lightning TRS. What a deal. Granted, it didn't really come with much. It came with a grind plate, but classic skates with the black boot, the black frame, the neon green, and the bright purple. What a look. Big ad in the middle for grind plates. Grind plates were the thing then. Made in the USA, high strength steel. Quote, quite simply the best. Buy a pair of grind plates and for only $80 additional, get a set of 8 Little Rocks. 8 Little Rocks, so 8 wheels and grind plates, which grind plates look like they were $25 for $55. That's a pretty good deal. You must mention Daily Bread to receive these prices, though. So don't walk in expecting this price without saying something. It's very important. There's a whole listing of wheels. In case you were wondering, this was before Team Paradise, or at least it was before Team Paradise catalogs, and they had the Hyper wheels, the Hyper Shock 80 millimeter, $7 a wheel. The Shock 76 millimeters, $7 a wheel. The Hyper Giants, Hyper Fat Boys were $5.50 a wheel. They were 72 mil. And then Kryptonics, you had the Turbo Racer 80 or the Turbo Racer 76, $6 or $5. The Rampage 76 or the Rampage 72, $5. Now I skated the Rampage wheels. I remember those. They were classic Kryptonics wheels for the price, especially. Buy 2 sets and get a free Inline Sports t-shirt. It's a $15 value. It's a good deal. This month's special, the Lightning 608 replacement wheels. 8 wheels for only $19.95. 8 wheels for $19.95. Those must be the cheapest wheels you can find. Wow, what a deal. $129 for the 1992 model Lightning TRS. That is a great deal. $192. Bearings, you get Black Hole Competition Series. I don't know how many bearings come in the pack. I would assume 16, because most people were skating flat back then. You get the AVEC 2, which doesn't exist, for $39. AVEC 3, $69, or the AVEC 5, $89. That's a great ripoff. The axle kits, the Blading Edge Accelerator. Ooh. $19 for a set of axles. Or AVEC 3 greased bearings. $22 for a set of 16. Inline Sports was in Cupertino, Homestead. They actually ended up opening a bunch of stores. I went to the Cupertino one. They also had one in Pleasanton. They had one in South San Jose, which is the one that was closest to me, where I think I met Ted. And then they had one in, where was the other one? Mountain View. So there were 3 or 4 locations back then. Huge Bay Area sports store. I mean, when Inline was big, they were the place to go. To Air is Human, a rollerblade ad. No, actually, it is a rollerblade ad. Huh. Remember last time I said that Rollerblade didn't like advertising in Daily Bread, but here they are. Chris Edwards on the bomb-proof Lightning TRS. Rollerblade. And places you could buy them. The Val Surf, Pro Look Sports, Warno Sports, Chicks Sporting Goods, Roller Skates of America, Golden Bear, and Hamels of San Diego. Daily Bread is brought to you by Angie Walton, Jess Deerenforth, Arlo Eisenberg, and Terry Jenkins, with Chris Garrett, Mark Shays, Aaron Spahn, Brooke Howard-Smith, Lewis Caldwell, Muffin Marlene, Judith One Butt Cheek, I don't know who Judith is, and you. Thanks. For advertising, call Jess or Terry at the number below. Daily Bread is always waiting to hear from you, so feel free to call us and give us your ideas, stories, photos, comments, whatever, anytime. That's cool. A lot of stuff covered in Daily Bread magazine carries with it significant risk of personal injury or death. Daily Bread magazine, including its owners, writers, photographers, and other staff and management, does not recommend that anyone participate in these sports unless they are experts, seek qualified professional instruction or guidance, are knowledgeable about the risks, and are willing to personally assume all responsibility associated with these risks. A lot of liability issues, I guess. Also, the views herein are those of the writers and do not necessarily reflect those of the magazine's ownership or management. We will rock you. Don't know what that means. And then there's some pictures. Arlo hard at work on his laptop. Just Deerenforth sighting. Me where I want to be right now. Angie skating. Looks like Merino Valley. And Terrence learning to spell his name. I don't know who Terrence is. That's great for Terrence. Table of Conscience. For it is the wise man who knows the inside scoop. Page 7. 'Tis the traveling man, he is known as Brooke. For he who hath letters, hath the answers. Okay. Thou shalt dare to err in Japan. One must first know of grind plates, for ye shall grind. 'Tis the roots of skaters that shall be revealed. He shall be known as Ivano, he speaketh strange. 'Tis Mike G, the man who shall be interviewed. And so it shall be told, for it is he... I don't know how to read this. For it is the rosy skate that shall be reviewed. Thou shalt learn how to err. Build it and they will come. It shall be called scrap. Thou must know of the Jeff Phillips skateboard contest. All right. And then on the cover, that was Chris Edwards at the Fern Ramp. I've missed a few pages. I apologize. There, this is the page that we're reading right now. That was Chris Edwards at the Fern Ramp, Judo McTwist. Page of photos. While you catch up, I'm going to have a nice drink. Tonight, I'm enjoying my last of my Glenlivet 15. I bought this bottle a few years back, and I don't drink much scotch, but it was my first whiskey that I got into, and I really appreciate it. My old boss wanted to get into whiskey, and I asked him what he would recommend, and he said, you can't go wrong with the Glenlivet 15. It wasn't a cheap bottle, it was like $80. But if you like scotch, it's a really good balance. It's a very mellow, little bit of burn. It's good. Not very oaky. Usually scotch to me is very oaky, very woody. Not so much. Some pictures for you. There's no section. This is just a bunch of pictures because we thought the pictures would be nice. Ethan Jenkin, tweaked mute in Minneapolis. Ethan was my roommate for many years and was one of the owners of England Clothing. Chris Garrett, the Melvin. Melvin, I assume, is when you do 2 heel bonks on coping. So if you skate up the coping and you go bonk and you come back in, that is absolutely terrifying to me. I would not do that. But Chris Garrett was the owner of Fiction. You can see there's a sequence of Chris Garrett doing a camel toe to fakie sequence. And then at the end, Chris Garrett gets the girl. We had some really weird named tricks back then. So if you are frustrated with the name porn star for one of our grinds, Chris Edwards had some interesting names for tricks before that. Katie, Fakey Air at Spawn Ranch. I wonder if that's Katie Ketchum. I don't know. I don't think I ever met Katie Ketchum, but it's the only Katie that I know. Angie and Donna, Over Under. So Angie Walton and Donna Vano. Back then, probably Donna Dennis, was that her name, I think? At some sort of a event. Jess Deerenforth doing a soul grind at YMCA in Encinitas with the crane kick arms. Very, very good, Jess. And then Aussie Manual with Stale Japan 360. I wonder if this Manual Belarus. Probably is. Another picture of Manual, probably not the Aussie one because it didn't say Aussie, doing an air over a spine. Now I don't know what that air is called. It's like he's sitting crisscross applesauce while grabbing mute, and I don't do that trick. I don't know what that trick is called, but he sure is having fun. Kate Gengo, soul grind in New York at the Banks. This was back in the day. So Kate Gengo you can see in Hoax 2 in the New York section. She's in that. An ad for Little Rocks, made in the USA, Boulder, Colorado. Warning, these are the original extreme wheels. Don't settle for imitation. Don't do it. They put a picture of the wheel inside the graphic of the wheel. I wonder if you zoomed in, you'd see another wheel inside the graphic. I can't see one, but potentially, maybe we panned out. There was more wheels. I don't know. Everyone's favorite, the Inside Scoop. This is the news of the day, with some pictures around it. We've got a picture of somebody with some beautiful Cosmo wheels, and a lot of CDS. I guess CDS was around here, but you can see there's a little CDS boot protector on the side. Very cool. Tom Fry with a shaved head, always fun. And then potentially Chris Edwards in full pads with no pants and no shirt, wearing a jockstrap. Rollerblade's new tarmac skate, the Chris Edwards signature model, is scheduled to be released in March of '94. The skate comes with 8 Hyper 57mm 88A wheels and metal grind plates. The skate will also feature a lace-up liner and a 45-degree angle power strap. We talked about this in the last Daily Bread. This is the Inside Scoop. Plans have been put into action for a pro circuit competition that will tour the West Coast in the summer of '94. Look for more info in the next issue. That competition was NIS, the National Inline Skate Series, and it did tour the West Coast in '94. Grind plates are a big business. At last count, there were at least 10 different manufacturers on the market, and we've already seen a few ads for them, which is excellent. Team Extreme, a half-pipe team created by Dan Joyce and Chris Morris, purchased the 9.5-foot, 16-foot wide portable trailer half-pipe. The team features some of the world's top vert skaters and has already booked some major shows, including the Disneyland United Cerebral Palsy Telethon and a tour in Seattle. Good for them. Ultra Wheels is rumored to be sending a half-pipe team on a 30-day tour of the Mediterranean this summer. Anywhere in the Mediterranean is a good place in summer. In February, there's going to be an influx of top international skaters in the U.S., including Tom Fry from Australia, Ivano Gigliardo from Switzerland, and Mark Groenhuizen from Holland. At 8 pounds 6 ounces, Chris Edwards gives birth to skaters, a beautiful bouncing rage of clothing and accessories called Birth Clothing. Call the number at 619 blah 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 for more information. Interesting. Birth Clothing. Birth was probably one of the biggest skater run companies back in the days, clothing companies. Definitely one of the most popular. I don't know if it lasted very long though. Big wheels on the outside and small wheels on the inside. So what's new? They all touch the ground. That's right, Cosmo have developed a 62mm and a 55mm wheel. The two center 55mm are set up rockered so that all 4 wheels touch the ground and you get a generous gap in the center. This was '93 and Cosmo was already doing the split flat rocker system where you ride small wheels on the inside flat. Super progressive, these guys. CDS have inadvertently come out with a product ideally suited for sole grinds. The product, originally designed to protect the front of the skate, was relocated to the side of the boot, and hey presto, a sole plate. Progression or what? It's probably that sole plate on the side. I don't know that would help much with sole grinds. I think the problem with the sole grind on these old skates was the heel, not necessarily the front. But they didn't think that way. They thought that the sole grind was on the front of the skate because they didn't realize that heel plates were a thing. Again, CDS came out with a heel plate and fixed that problem real quick. Acclaimed snowboard, ski, and MTV sports cinematographer Bruce Benedict is in the process of filming an extreme inline video. I don't know what video that was, but I guess we'll find out. Hot on the heels of Alan Bono's ramp hockey cover shoot, Sega has created a Mad Max urban street hockey rollerballish kind of video game. I don't remember that game, but I believe it. Warning, a show is being produced called Blade Warriors. Blade Warriors. See if you can find Blade Warriors on YouTube. I'm sure it's there somewhere. It's somewhat of an American Gladiators on inlines kind of thing. They are recruiting some of our top pros and making them dress funny. play strange games, and paying them lots of money. Although they have incorporated ramps in the show, it has nothing to do with our sport. I think they were very protective of the culture back then. They didn't want anybody representing the culture that wasn't part of the culture, and putting inline skates out there is fine, but then as soon as they put our skaters out there and they had ramps, I think things got a little confusing to people, or at least they were worried that they were going to get confusing. Brooks Travels. Dear Jess, right now I'm in Europe somewhere between Paris and Amsterdam, but I am supposed to write about New Zealand and my recent trip there, so here goes. The first thing you notice when you go to Holland, Australia, Japan, or New Zealand is how fresh skating is. Much to the dismay of large skate companies' marketing departments, there's no money-driven, lycra-wearing, recreational population outside the U.S., and New Zealand is typical. Alan Bono, one of the top pros in the U.S. today, can take credit for much of the direction that inline has taken in New Zealand. This Kiwi's outstanding and original ramp skating was virtually the only media coverage the sport received in a long time. In return for Alan's relaxed and intrinsically core attitude, inline gained respect from skateboarders and BMXers alike. In fact, it was skaters like pro Andrew Morrison who motivated and guided Alan. He, in return, taught me. Street skating in New Zealand has only just started to transform into the grind rail bonanza that exists in the U.S., but now that Dare to Air, Daily Bread, Box, and the Hoax are available, it won't be long before you see more innovation come out of the home of hardcore. My biggest worry when Alan and I left New Zealand for the U.S. 2 years ago was if the skate scene would maintain its relatively ideal direction. Scott Bentley's recent visit to the U.S. set aside my fears. The Rotorua locals' clean, high style is almost unequaled in pro skating today. Much of the progression in New Zealand and Europe is due to the continued active promotions of the distributors. Competitions, parties, and weekly publications keep the market informed and alive. Companies like Rodolfo's of Amsterdam and Cheap Skates in New Zealand have taken over where the large skate companies would not invest. The result seems to be stores that are in touch with the real market. The most important thing about skating in New Zealand is that it's still simple. You skate because you enjoy it. No money and less politics make for a pure environment that has produced Alan Scott, Terry Jenkins, and myself. Soon more Kiwis, New Zealanders, will come and we will take over your government. P.S. If anyone wants to stay at Mark Heineken's mansion in Amsterdam, all you have to do is send a photo and resume to Hoofder, care of Rodolfo's. I don't believe that's true, but okay. It's a beautiful color. So many bourbons are very dark amber. This is a very light amber. It's very pretty. It's hard to find a good scotch that's not expensive, and I think expensive is all relative. For me, a $40 bottle is about where I want to be. You know, I'll have a drink every couple of days, and a bottle will last me, I don't know, maybe a month. It's not a ton of money, but $40 is a good number for me. When you go to the $80, $100 for a bottle, that's really when scotch starts getting really good, and it's a little expensive for me. So I prefer bourbon. You can get a great bottle of bourbon for $30, $40. For scotch, I don't know that I found a great bottle for less than $40, but let me know in the comments if you find a good bottle of scotch for less than $40. I'd love to give it a try. Carrying on. Dear Chris, my name is Chris Edwards, and I've been asked to answer your questions. First, let me tell you how happy I am to see all of you pushing the limits every day. The street is on fire right now with people pushing rails, curbs, soul grinds, etc., calling out grinds by name because all they had were front sides. And then the soul grind came out, and this was like people who soul grind. Let that sink in a little bit. Keep it up. Remember to please skate with respect for everyone around you so our sport can last longer. Preach that. Skate with respect for everyone around you so our sport can last longer. Not just other people who are skating, but don't get in the way of people. Be respectful. Respect beautiful property. Pick handrails with a little morality. Ramp skating continues to progress. Every day I have a new trick or variation come to my head. I love it. Keep ripping on both street and ramps. This month I'll be answering 3 of the letters that poured in from around the world. The first letter I got was from Nick Petrenko in New York. I don't know if Nick still skates, but it's great to be reading your letter. Nick wrote asking for either a ramp plan or at least a ramp trick tip. So Nick, first, please don't get frustrated when you don't always have a ramp to skate. When I first started to skate, I had nothing to skate for a couple of years. Remember, skating is more in your heart, in your mind. As long as you have it there, when you finally do get a ramp, you'll be stoked at how good you skate. As for the trick tip, think about this. Next time you see a ramp, try a mute air. I learned this trick a long time ago, but it still hangs around because it's so stylish. It's pretty simple. With your right hand, if you air to the left, reach to your left leg, picking up both legs to your right side. The longer you hold it, the better it looks. Good luck, bud. Till next time, see ya, Nick. Chris Edwards. The next letter came in from John Schmidt in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of Scribe fame and Harvesting the Crest. John, I feel for you, my friend. I know how cold it gets there in Minneapolis in the winter. As you know, Rollerblade is out there, and I spend way too much time there. Anyways, bro, the rumors you have heard are true. The rumor has been admitted to protect its confidentiality. Sorry, Ed. I believe LB is a great guy. He is really trying to set up the sport out there. Get in touch with him at Rollerblade and he'll help you out. Alright, bro, keep up the killer skating. Push till you can't push no more. See ya. LB, I don't know any of this. I don't know who this rumor was. LB. I don't know. I don't know who that is. The last letter I received came from Mike Giacenti. Who was one of the judges that I judged with in the ASA. Really great guy. He is a lawyer now in San Francisco, I believe. He's also featured in this issue. He skated vert mostly. He lives right down the street from me in Encinitas, California. Mike works at the YMCA in Encinitas. Oh, didn't know that. Where they have a killer skate park with an intense street section. I've had the opportunity to skate with Mike there. Mike, keep ripping, bro. I do believe we are going to have a trick tip section with pictures coming soon. See philosophies and general dynamics of how to do an aerial in this issue. Thanks for supporting the mag. I'll be skating in Encinitas soon, so I'll help you out. Till then, keep working hard. See you in a few. Chris Edwards. To the rest of you out there, keep skating. SK8'N. Let's make ourselves a fun, intense sport. Remember to skate with respectability and humbleness. The safer and more respectful we skate, the longer we'll be able to enjoy the sport. Chris is preaching. God bless you all. Skate hard. A note from the editor. We gave Chris the letters we wanted him to answer for this issue to take home and get back to us. Unfortunately, Chris liked the letters so much he kept them. For the next issue, we will give Chris Xeroxes of your letters so that we can keep them and print them in DB4. There's also a picture of Chris Edwards doing a Judo McTwist. Judo McTwist is probably the most amazing looking air. I don't know anybody that does them. I don't know that Takeshi ever did them, or Ato, or Taig, or Fabiola, or anyone. It's like his trick, and it is an amazing trick. Anyway. Next page. Ooh. Chad Kraut. Love it. Chad was Seattle. I don't think I ever met Chad, but definitely an OG. I think he was on Heavy, doing a front side on a rail. He had a really good look. at what skates were like back then. The boy's getting wheel bite in the front. Oh my god. He is skating anti-rocker barely. You can tell he's got a wrench, an actual rollerblade wrench. On the outside, I don't know if that was to protect the skate. Super weird. And he's doing a channel 3 front side in the front foot. Not safe, Chad. That setup and that trick, not safe. Not safe. An ad for Boneless. Choose Boneless. Why? They're handmade. They're pre-bent. There's no metal grommets. They're extra thick. And they're made to order. Remember they used to have custom Boneless. They would have custom colors in fabrics and materials. I guess kind of similar to how Adapt does skates now. Really cool. I wonder if you can get custom Boneless now. I have to check. Get a shirt. $12.95 gets you a durable Daily Bread t-shirt. You can stretch it out very far, like in this picture, in case you wanted to stretch a shirt. There are 3 colors: gold, green, mustard. Any size, I guess. Black, extra large, long sleeve t-shirts are available for $15. That's good. Would have loved to get one of these t-shirts back in the days. You can also subscribe, so you can get a year in the US for $14, 2 years for $28. Foreign orders add $20 for shipping and allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. Man, that's a long time to get a t-shirt. Thankfully, we've gotten better at that. I think our international shipping now to most places, if you wanted a t-shirt, is like $12. So it's not a ton cheaper, but it does get there within a week or two. Not 6 to 8 weeks. That was a long time. Osaka. So a photo montage, some notes. Japan, October 6th through 19th. October 7th, a ride in Osaka. October 8th, rehearsal during day. Oxygen, Earth Hole, Insane Night. Mark and Sean met a lot of people. Craig flowed us. Caroline bailed. Earth Hole karaoke room. Everyone raged. This is a very bizarre way of doing notes. Who wrote this? I don't give anyone credit. October 9th, rehearsal during day. Oxygen, full flowage. October 10th, parade, Street Fighter 2 float. Party by client. Sean and John gin and tonic. Dinner with girls at Murphy's Irish Pub. October 11th, skated with Osaka skaters. Pat, Jess, Sean left for LAX. Mark, JT, Chris bailed to Visage Capital Court in Miyakochimo. Hang with the girls. Laundry, pizza, lost. October 12th, Mark and Chris breakfast. Bank. Bullet train to Tokyo with Andrea and Thea. Arrived and went to SSA office. Makio, Take, Tets, and Giant. Public bath. No towels. Hey boys. Went to Shibuya with Andrea, Tats, Jeff wife. Thea met I can't read that. Back to someone's house. Cards not. It's getting to be very difficult to read. Anyway, on this page there are some pictures. Starting from the top left, a grind plate, destroyed grind plate. Oh, these are so cool. Like just looking at how destroyed their skates were back then, and they just kept skating them. I mean, there was no arch support, there was no H-block. They just destroyed these skates. And honestly, the grind plate was there to keep them from getting too wrecked. Like, if you didn't have a grind plate, you would grind all the way to your boot on front sides because they didn't have any other tricks. Chris Garrett doing a soul grind on this this off ledge, really nice. Is that Mark Shays in the bottom left? I think so. Mark Shays with a bunch of people, mostly female. Pat Parnell, looks like, doing a front side on a rail. Somebody falling down. Somebody touching them, probably Chris. Chris with 2 Japanese skaters, I don't know. And then probably Pat with somebody smoking. Good. Next page, killer find. So this page, in the bottom left, you see a guy doing a cross grab like a mute. 1-footed soul grind. His name is Makio. That is Makio. And that's Makio doing the Makio. How amazing is that? It looks like the letter on this right side is the same as the letter on the left. They were really strapped for content this issue, so I guess there's not a ton of the original content, but the Makio doing the Makio is enough. And then you can see the whole crew. Pat and Mark Shays and Chris Garrett, Terry Jenkins, all the boys, Jess on the right. All the boys. Alright, this is a great page. Destructive skating. Some more notes on grinding. So if you were reading the previous episode of Storytime, we read Daily Bread issue 2, where Arlo broke down the different wheel setups for grinding. Now he's going to talk about grind plates. Destruction is a fact of life. Grinds are destructive. You will destroy property and your skates. You will be... so get over it. Can't read tonight. The problem with most grind plates available right now is that they are not designed to facilitate better grinding. They are designed to save frames. Although this is a noble cause, the sad truth is that saving frames does not lend itself to better grinding. In fact, it does just the opposite. Very true. Here are the 2 most popular solutions to the save the frames crises and why they don't work. The first is to make the grind plate tall enough so that when you bolt it to the side of your frame, several extra millimeters of grind plate will remain below the frame. This is intended to serve 2 purposes. One is to eliminate any contact between the grinding surface and your frame, since you would now be grinding away at the excess grind plate instead of the actual frame. And 2 is to create more space between the wheels by lowering the frame's point of contact. We talk about this on Gear Talk when I explain the difference between grind plates and why people like grind plates. It creates a bigger space between the wheels because you're pushing that frame out by adding that grind plate, which is why it's really good when you're skating flat. Grind plates help with that. Eliminating contact between the grinding surface and your frame is only as good as the amount of excess grind plate that is exposed. As soon as the extra millimeters are ground away, the oversized grind plate is no longer valuable. Lowering the frame's point of contact to create more space for the grinding is designed to accommodate all big wheels. This is no longer necessary with such innovations as little wheels and shifted systems. And considering how poorly big wheels slide, it's quite frankly out of touch. The second most popular frame-saving device is a grind plate which wraps underneath the frame between the 2 middle wheels. A version of this has been made popular by Chris Edwards and will be featured on Rollerblade's new street skate, the Tarmac CE, so it can't be all that bad. The problem with this design, however, is, as is the case with oversized plates, is that they both discourage wearing grooves into your frames. Skates slide best after the frames are worn in. The grooves put your feet closer to the rails, and they are the perfect shape for locking on. Another problem with the wraparound design is that it limits you to either an all-plastic surface or an all-metal surface. Metal and plastic both have their advantages and their disadvantages. Metal is great on metal, so it slides well on handrails. On the downside, metal is pretty sketchy on concrete. Plastic, on the other hand, will slide over anything. It's the quality of slide that is questionable. Sliding on plastic is less controlled than sliding on metal, because the plastic offers so little resistance to whatever you are grinding. That's interesting. Very similar to how people used to balance out backslides with K2 fatties. They would, because that backslide groove area was so soft, you were able to put pressure on that when you're doing a rail and slow yourself down. It was kind of like a brake. And here he's saying that metal grind plates are predictable. Plastic is not, because it's super fast. It's very, very interesting. I don't know that I agree, but Arlo knew more about grinding than I ever did. Plastic is also relatively quiet. This is the point that is lost on most manufacturers, since they don't actually do grinds. There's a lot to be said for the sound metal makes when grinding in the feel. Very true. It is extremely gratifying. The ideal grind setup incorporates the best features of both plastic and metal. 50-50, some might say. The concept for the best grind plate setup known to me came from the Rollerblade wrenches. The idea was first presented to me by Brian Konoski, who had taken a Rollerblade wrench and fastened it to the side of his frames. The beauty of the wrench, which every other manufacturer has overlooked, was that when you fastened it to your frame, several millimeters of frame were still exposed beneath the wrench. This promoted wearing the frame down to the grind plate, and then wearing a groove into the frame, so that the plastic frame and metal grind plate were flush. The control and gratification of metal, and the versatility of plastic, all in one. The ideal grind setup. There you go. And there's a picture of Arlo doing a soul grind, soul rail, in Liverpool. Soul grind. Photo Terry Jenkins. And over on the left, I'll jump to that. We missed the left, but there were a few examples of grind plates to wrap around and such. All the grind plates that Arlo talked about. And an ad for Rodolfo's. I don't know that they're still in business, but they were really big in Amsterdam. Roots 2. Terry Jenkins, Roots, Freestyle BMX. Steve Davis, Roots, Skateboarding. Donna Dennis, Roots, Skiing. Jimmy Trimble, Roots, Roller Skating. Blast off. Very cool. Jimmy Trimble was a name that we knew really well from Vert and from Rollerblade, Team Rollerblade, but never really did anything in the street or the aggressive area. Like, he kind of dropped out in 96 or so, but he was such a huge name back then. I wonder what happened. Ooh, black hole bearings. This full-page ad for a bearing company. When you're charging crazy prices for an APEC 5, you can probably afford a crazy ad. Black hole. Mercer Island, Washington. Well, good for them. Birth clothing ad. Full page. I don't know how you do that. Anteater, Chris Edwards, Ape, Jimmy Trimble, Squirrel, Tom Fry, Gorilla, Pat Parnell, Mouse, Jess Deerenforth, Whale, Angie Walton. All different sperm. Individual sperm. Built for the human race. The first clothing company dedicated to the rampant street inline skater. Available at your local retail store in March 1994. Owned and operated by Chris Edwards. It was a big deal back then because there was nothing from us. It was all people injecting stuff into their culture. You'll see a few other ads for clothing companies that sponsored skaters, but there were no skaters clothing companies. More fun pictures with very difficult to read type. Please apologize to her, Jess pleaded with the stewardess. I think she misunderstood me. Jess was concerned because he had asked one of the other stewardesses for a cup of rosy, British for a cup of tea, only to have her snort, "Not while I'm standing here, you won't," and storm off. Huh. We later deduced that the offended stewardess must have misheard Jess's innocent British colloquialism and mistaken it for an invitation to have the odoriferous redolence of her nymphae inspected by Jess's olfactory organ. I guess. Jess said, "I'd like a cup of rosy." She heard, "I like to smell your rhymes with wussy. Maybe. It was an unfortunate misunderstanding, and despite Jess's efforts to remedy the situation, the nymphomous stewardess avoided us like a yeast infection for the rest of the flight. Jess and I were on our way to Minneapolis, where ice fishing reigned supreme, to do a show for Ultra Wheels. Flying with us were Ethan "We Will Rock You" Jenkin, of England, and Terry Loverboy Jenkins, also from England, as is Jess, of course. I would prove to be the only American in the Ultra Wheels show. Ivano Gigliaro, the fifth and final skater scheduled to perform, had been flown in from Switzerland and was already in the Twin Cities, awaiting our arrival. I had met Ivano once before at the ISPO trade show in Munich, Germany. I was there skating for a new company, Oxygen. I'm somewhat of a skate whore, you see, and he was there skating for Ultra Wheels. Although my meeting with him was brief, I was left with some very distinct impressions. Ivano's appearance and his demeanor both lend themselves to his overall essence, which is best described as a homicidal teddy bear. His deep-set eyes and loud, unkempt hair suggest something psychotic, as does his high-strung, cartoonish-like energy, while his exceeding friendliness and general aloofness immediately render him about as harmless as a declawed Peruvian cabbie. If a professional inline skater were the Muppet movies, Ivano would be Animal. He speaks Italian and French, and at the time in Munich only spoke French, a little bit of English. In fact, he only knew 3 words, and they were all obscenities. Ivano would vary the inflections and intensity of the 3 words he knew to express different feelings. Kind of like I am Groot, I guess. For instance, to say that was a nice air, he would raise his thick eyebrows, smile real big, and shake his head up and down while saying shit very slowly. But to express his displeasure at having shots administered before each show, which he had to finish with a McTwist, so that he couldn't feel his injured hips, he would crinkle his face, squint his eyes, and shake his head back and forth while giving him an emphatic shit. Ivano had a knack for drama. He was the consummate performer on and off the half-pipe. All of the skaters from the trade show had been invited to skate in a popular outdoor shopping pavilion called Maria Platz for a local TV station. I opted not to skate, but decided to go as a spectator and offer support for the other skaters. It was dark by the time I arrived, and the skaters were already jumping over chairs, which they had set up in the open square in the center of the shopping village. The skaters were taking turns, attempting to raise the stakes each time they jumped. 180 over a chair, jumping over 2 chairs, 3 chairs, someone laying across the chairs. Finally, about 8 chairs were arranged in a circle, someone laying across the middle. A huge crowd had formed in the square. A couple of skaters had managed to barely clear the cluster when Ivano decided it was time for the last word. He started his approach at about 100 feet. He was skating very fast, perhaps at full speed. Raised his arms like a figure skater in anticipation of a choreographed maneuver. The crowd was screaming with excitement. The chairs were fast approaching. He was blowing on his whistle. I don't know where he got the whistle. He was blowing on his whistle, creating quick, piercing shrapnels of noise, which had become all too familiar over the last 5 days. It was as if a semi had stalled on the train tracks, and a locomotive, which was now carrying too much momentum to stop, had no other choice than to blow its whistle in a futile attempt to prevent the imminent carnage. Ivano spread his arms and left the ground, not with a vertical leap, like you might expect one to have performed in such an instance to avoid certain mutilation, but so that his body was laid out parallel to the ground, in a Superman dive, if you will. Ivano was now several feet above the ground, sailing horizontally across the air. The crowd was silent. The chairs began passing underneath him. Where was he going with this? How did he hope to land it? What traumatic childhood experiences could have contributed to such an unstable mindset? His toes clipped a chair as they struggled to follow the rest of the body over the cluttered mass, which now seemed so unopen to renegotiation. This sent Ivano into what appeared to be an inadvertent front flip, which crashed through the remaining chairs and exploded into the pavement with all of the gracefulness of his own half-matted shoulder-length hair. The crowd remained silent, mouths wide open. Ivano jumped up and waved as if it had all gone as planned. I turned to Ivano's girlfriend, who was standing next to me, expecting to share a moan of disbelief. "Oh, he does this all the time," she said. Needless to say, I was looking forward to seeing Ivano again in Minneapolis. Ultra Wheels arranged for us to stay in an affordable hotel that was relatively close to the ramp site, relative to Uganda. And since Ivano arrived in Minneapolis before us, the Days Inn University is where we would eventually catch up with him. So, after a shuttle ride from the airport, courtesy of ourselves, and a tour of Minneapolis' finer hotels, the shuttle driver apologetically dropped us off at the 3-story behemoth that was to be our home for the next 5 days. One of the luxuries that was not spared at our economical oasis was a complimentary house phone that could be used to call any of the guests of the Days Inn from the front desk. We dialed Ivano's room number and devoted the next half hour to trying to explain to Ivano what a front desk was, and that we were downstairs waiting at one. Eventually he understood. The first floor elevator gave birth to a fuzzy teddy bear in baggy jeans. What ensued was a small reunion of sorts with few words, and a lot of European comfortable with one's own sexuality touching and hugging. All of us, except for Jess, had been in Munich. Roommates were Terry and Ivano, the 2 Ultra Rules veterans, in room 516, and Ethan, Jess, and myself in room 522. Over the next 5 days, I would be privy to some of the most intimate details of British life, and we get a rare glimpse into the English psyche. Most impressive was their obsession with flatulence. Many hours each day were devoted to its emulation, as they strove for that elusive, perfect pitch. It's very, very true. I remember very vividly both Jess and Ethan being very into making fart noises as often as possible. It looks as though the middle has been cut out because they used to come with posters, and I am sure that I took the middle page out and hung it on my wall, so I apologize for missing the middle of this brilliant Daily Bread issue 3. I should have kept it, but I was a kid. Interview with Mike Giacenti. Living down in San Diego, I've come across a lot of rad vert and street skaters. One up-and-comer that is catching everyone's attention is Encinitas Skate Park's local Mike Giacenti. I've known Mike for the past 2 years, and we at Daily Bread feel it is about time to give him the exposure he deserves. I ran into Mike on the lifts at Snow Summit, and this is what he had to say. Chris Garrett. Question: how long have you been skating? 2.5 years. I started at Camp Rollerblade in Santa Barbara. Where do you skate, and who with? Encinitas Skate Park, usually alone and sometimes with Chris Garrett or Judy Elms. Who are your sponsors? I'm on Team Extreme. I don't know who Team Extreme was, but there's someone. What other sports are you into? I like to skateboard, and of course I like to snowboard. And I played soccer when I was a grommet. Who are your skating influences? Basically the old Team Rollerblade. Jess, Pat, Angie, Jimmy, and of course Chris Edwards. Oh, and you too, Chris. I learned to skate watching the old Rollerblade videos. The ones where Pat Parnell was wearing spandex? Yes, those were the ones. Hopefully I'll never have to wear spandex. Haha. Learn any new tricks lately? Well, I just learned cab to camel toe. A lot of new lip trick variations, and I learned to slide the handrail at the park. Slide the handrail at the park, he calls it. Sliding the handrail, that's... I need a drink. He didn't learn a front side on the handrail. He learned how to slide it because there was only one way back then. Oh boy. What are your skating goals for next year? Hopefully travel around, do a lot of shows in different places, and teach kids to skate ramp. So how do you feel about the new school tricks? Handrails, soul grinds, etc. New school. I like it. It's good for the sport. It helped gain respect from other action sports. Where do you think the sport of aggressive inline is going? That might be the first time they've used the word aggressive inline. Before it was always extreme, right? Interesting. The future will be a combo of gliding and spinning into and out of tricks. Cab to camel. Good looking out, Mike. grinding and spinning into tricks. Definitely the way that we went. Do you have anything to say about your fans out there? What fans, dork? Haha. Snowboarding questions. How long have you been boarding? 1 season. Do you like boarding? That's a dumb question. Would I be here right now if I didn't? What kind of music are you into? Fast music, like Bad Religion, Pennywise, and I like some rap. So basically the Hoax soundtrack. Anything for the girls to know? I'm single. Go Mike. As I mentioned before, Mike's a really good dude. He, we spent a lot of time with ASA and X Games and stuff. Really, really nice guy. Never really skated with him, though. I think he brought his skates once, but I never skated with him, I don't think. I just hung out a bit, mostly on tours. Ooh. Maiko Palak, spelled Maiko Palak. Ophallic. This might be the first time Mike has been on Daily Bread, I believe. This was on set at the Hoax, downtown LA, next to LAX. Frontside planter 270 rewind to fakie. So he goes up, there's his front side, and then left side, front sides, spins to the right, come off fakie. It's a good trick. Rail slider, the original inline skate coper, coming soon. Sway bars. For more info, send $1 in a self-addressed stamped envelope. Universal Skate Products in Dallas, Texas. I don't know if that ever happened. Rail slider, the original inline skate coper. I don't know. It's a lot of words. Skate Underground, skate park and shop. All the skateboarding brands. And then pictures of people in rollerblades. All right. Lewis Toon. Okay, let's see. My name is Lewis Caldwell III. Yes, that truly is my real name. Stop laughing. By now, I am sure you have seen the drawing to your right. You have probably already decided whether or not you like it. It's not really drawing. I guess it is. Hopefully you find it pleasing to your eyeballs. What it is but a taste, a mere preview of the full course to be served over the next several issues. It all started when I was 2 years old. I picked up my first crayon. My destiny was sold. As I rolled it around my little fingers, I had that certain twinkle. The font is very small. It's really hard for me to read, and I have my glasses on. You know, the kind you got when you did your first soul grind. It makes you want to cry. Sniff, sniff. Oh, excuse me. I got a little carried away there. It's like they're filling. Like they're filling space. They don't have to write this small. They're just filling because they need to fill up full magazine. Oh, excuse me. I got a little carried away there. Blah, blah, blah. Since that miraculous first day, I'm never caught without a pencil in my hand and a pad under my arm, except when I am reading the latest issue of Image Comics Supreme, which is how I got my start, or how I became inspired to do comics. See, I met a gentleman by the name of Brian Murray, creator of Supreme. I showed him some of my work, and he liked it. He said I still had a lot of things to work on, but has since helped me to iron them out. I am now eager to share with you what I have absorbed. My stories will take you to places you could never imagine. Well, some of you could, I'm sure. For Daily Bread, I shall try to combine two of the things I enjoy most in art and skating. Speaking of skating, try to pay attention as I tell you about my own personal skating career. This is, after all, a skate mag. I've been skating for about 9 months. I know, that's not long at all compared to some of you professionals out there, but I can assure you I am not by any means lacking in talent, so cut your taunts. As I said, I have been skating for 9 months, and in this time I have learned a few tricks of the trade. I bought rollerblades for transportation to work, because I was too lazy to walk, but then I started jumping and immediately was hooked, and so it was told. So stay tuned to Daily Bread as I present you with thrills, spills, and adventure on the issues to come. See ya. I don't know who Lewis Toon is, but really doesn't come across as a very inspiring person. And I don't know about this art. It's kind of like when you learn a 3D rendering program, you start doing this. Alright, here we go. So this was some of the art that Lewis did, and Arlo was the editor, co-created by Angie Walton. So this is like a graphic novel. A ship soars through the depths of space, Unheard, unseen, dust clouds swirl around in its mist. Propulsion jests exceed their limits as they push the metallic beast through the darkness. Time is lost for the being within. He has been in this ship for what seems like aeons. Plenty of time to contemplate his destination. Great Earth. A face appears on the screen behind him, unnoticed. Ahem, when will you be returning my ship, boy? When I am done. Done what? Parading around the galaxy looking for this ultimate ramp? What the hell is a ramp? He says not a word. He just smiles as the video screen goes blank. He sinks within the darkness, awaiting his destination, the ultimate rail. Interesting. It says in the first that is the ultimate ramp, but it's actually the ultimate rail that he's looking for. So it shall be told. Oof. Check that out. Meanwhile on Earth, it ain't peacetime no mo. Guy's doing a backside pud slide or backside backslide maybe. Let hell sang my glory. He leaps in the air with a half-cab to backside rail. 6 skates. This strap around it like the Huygen Ennen carbon freeze. He slides down the luminous snake with a devilish smile, for he is Chili's play. A backside rail to Fakey incorporates his name. A shot of triumph rings throughout the streets of Houston. Yeah. So this guy's from Houston, I guess. Alright. I love this. The comics. It's really cool. A lot of attention to detail. And it's rollerblading. Working clothes for the working man. Chris Mitchell. Oh, no, Mark Shays. Mark Shays. Oh, wow. Looking like Chris Mitchell. P.I. Rags. I don't think this was a skate company. I think this was a clothing company trying to get skaters to wear their thing. Photo Jess D. This might be Jess's first photo credit. Potentially. Locals only. Starting at the top, Jason Mon with a Stale Grab 360. Dayton, Ohio. I don't know Jason. Jeff Bogg. Redmond, Washington, doing a big jump. Big jump off a loading dock. Scotty Crawford. That name sounds familiar. Cosmo shirt in Sydney, Australia, doing front side, looks like. Scotty, of course, went on to be Mr. Scott Crawford, who was on a bunch of different companies, K2, Oxygen for a minute, Cosmo, 50/50, etc. Still skates, still amazing. He does a Australian kind of blading cup get together cookout sort of thing in the summer. If you're in Australia, you should definitely go check it out down in Sydney. Mark Perino. The photo was Mark Wells. He did what looks like a 360, potentially a 360 stale grab, maybe just a 180 stale grab. Kind of hard to tell off a launch ramp. Mo, Seattle, Washington. Wonder if that's Mo from Heavy, Mo Sanders. Probably is. Mo Sanders, is, as I know, is part of roller skating now. The roller skates from Power Slide, what are they called? Chaya. I think he does the Chaya brand. Jordan Andreen in San Diego, doing a big air. Last month's most remote local t-shirt winner, Michael Emmons of Muskoka Woods, Ontario, Canada. He was just kind of chilling on a spine ramp, not really doing an air or a trick, just kind of going up it. Eric from El Cajon. I don't know who Eric is. I don't think that was Eric Shrine. That's probably before his days. Altus Plunkett in Shizuoka, Japan, doing a one-footed, I don't know what that is, 1 foot drop-in sort of thing. Good job, locals. Venice Beach and a bunch of skaters and myself were kicking back at the house watching a rough cut of a new skate video. A UPS van pulled up. We watched the employee in his sharp brown uniform struggle with a box, which we hope to contain the future of or at least a step in the right direction for our sport. And struggle he did, as Rossi's of Italy had sent what seemed to be a large quantity of skates. Enough for 2 teams, possibly. We met Mr. UPS halfway and took the box from him. Before the paperwork was finished being signed, the box had been ripped open by hungry skaters eager to see the direction which one big company was expecting to see their sport go. And there it was, stripped naked of all its packaging, the Rossi skate was squeezed, poked, and prodded. The most striking feature was the machined aluminum frame. Amazing. This was the heart of the skate, and Rossi's had obviously spent time designing and refining the frame with the help of Mark Heineken. Features include a 1mm rocker, which was permanent, couldn't be altered unless you used different wheel sizes. That's interesting. I never knew it had a 1mm rocker. So apparently, maybe to combat the wheelbase? I don't know. The 1mm rocker got the thumbs up from most skaters. The axle kit was very unique, making wheel changes quick and easy. It had the 2 center bolts were not bolts, but steel pins which slide in and out with a special tool provided. Very slick and very easy. Another feature was that the aluminum frame was not permanently fixed to the boot. It had a 3-point location, which enabled the frame to be relocated in a forward, central, or rear position. So interesting. I didn't know that. So you could try all 3 and see which you felt most comfortable with. The skate came stock with the Hyper Fat Boys, of which the 2 center wheels were shifted apart. In between the 2 wheels was a grind plate made of durable plastic, which everyone said gave a good, consistent slide on most surfaces. The boot was of good quality, but most skaters expressed a concern over the lack of support given around the ankle, missing the 45-degree strap. I always say there needs to be a 45-degree strap. The buckle was a little suspect for durability as well. We have since spoken to Mark Heineken about these factors. He's assured us that Rossi's have already reinforced the cuff and beefed up the buckle on the final skate. Obviously, we received what were still somewhat prototypes. Overall, everyone was excited about the skate. It is, after all, the first ramp street skate. We believe Rossi's may well have seen the future, and they have taken a step in the right direction. They scored full points for that. Absolutely. The Rossi's Moscow, I never skated the Moscow. I saw a pair, and they were interesting. I mean, definitely ahead of their time. When everybody was doing plastic frames and weird metal grind plates, to have a plastic grind plate with an aluminum frame, I mean, that's saying something. Built-in rocker, too. That's super fascinating. Usually you'd want a built-in rocker like you would have, the wish frame comes with a built-in rocker to make the maneuverability a little better because you have a long wheelbase. Not a long wheelbase here. It seems like a fairly standard wheelbase. But they did push those middle wheels out, so it was a shifted system. Super progressive. And then there's a picture of Jess doing a mute grab at Disneyland in front of Small World. This would be, in 93, 94, 93, Small World, this is where what would be there? I guess the Casey Jones Circus area, where you get on the little train. I don't know if that's still there. It's been a long time since I've been to Disneyland, since moving out to California, or moving from California. The philosophical theories and general dynamics of how to do an aerial. So this one's split across the 2 pages. I'm going to read both pages, but follow along on the left. You have driven an hour to see this wooden erection blocking the sun's rays like some archetypical structure. The structure was designed, I'm sure, and built by dedicated skaters. The design has changed a little over the centuries. You're standing watching a skater session the ramp. He drops in, and on his first pump, he's 3 feet out. And that's just to set up for his next air. A 6-foot stale fish. It's your first time to a ramp. You're overwhelmed, and that dude made everything look so easy. You rip out of your back pocket the new issue of Daily Bread like some hungry archaeological treasure hunter. Within its pages is a map to the hidden secrets of the aerial, a once closely guarded secret kept by pro skaters and ancient civilizations. As soon as you enter the transitions of a halfpipe, you are entering a whole new dimension. Initially, your body may feel uncomfortable with it, but if you practice and follow these guidelines, you too can experience the exhilaration, the buzz, and the adrenaline rush, the high, literally, of getting air. Technique for the aerial. When riding the flat bottom, always keep your feet one slightly in front of the other, knees bent, arms at your side. To develop a strong pump, you should only skate for initial speed, but once in the transition, you should use your pump to gain momentum. Going up the transition, pumping. Approaching the transition, you need to be in a pre-loaded position, leaning forward, knees bent, arms at your side. As you are traveling up the transition, you begin swinging your arms forward, still slightly crouched, all in one fluid motion. Timing and coordination are essential to what makes the difference between getting 6 feet or getting 2 feet. When you reach your peak, the point at which you are no longer traveling up at the ramp, bring your knees into your body and make a 180-degree turn. At this point, your body should be weightless. You will need to concentrate where your feet will land. Try to land them as far up on the ramp's transition as possible. Keep your knees bent and your arms at your side, ready to pump down the transition. As you are traveling down the transition, you are leaning forward and once again swinging your arms out in front of you. Any part of this technique done out of sync will work against you, make gaining speed very difficult. Timing is everything. Skate safe and spread the word. TJ. Terry Jacob, probably. I've never been really good at skating vert. I think more because I've never had opportunities to skate vert. I would love to learn. I do have a mini ramp in my backyard, but it is 3 feet, not 10 feet. It has no vert. So learning to air on my mini ramp isn't going to do me much good, but I would love to go and skate this half pipe or a half pipe. I think it would be a lot of fun. An ad for sliders. Protect your frames with cold, hard steel. To receive your sliders grind plates, send $15.95 plus $2.90 for express mail. Shipping in check or money order, payable to Get Inline. I remember Get Inline. Or call blah blah blah. They were in Santa Rosa. Get Inline, I remember them. Santa Rosa was a really interesting city. They have the museum for Charles Schultz, which is the Peanuts director, writer guy. His daughter Jill Schultz is who she used to be on Team Rollerblade. She was responsible for Camp Rollerblade, and she is still doing the Wheels shows. She's the person who manages the shows for Fabiola and Sharon Grove and Coco at the amusement parks. Jill Schultz, really famous old name. Oops, how did I get back to there? That's not good. Did I lose the last pages? No, I've got them all. Oh no. Going through pages. Hope I didn't lose it. I've got it. No, I think I did. No, well, I will show them to the camera. I don't know where the images are. Maybe I ran out of images. Scrap, an inline competition. The scrap contest was exactly what our sport needed, despite a few very minor blemishes, 2 cartwheels, and 1 Saturday Night Feverish street run that consisted of nothing but spins and street funk. The event was a success, thanks in large part to the excellent planning, preparation, and ultimate execution of the event by the entire scrap crew, and the enthusiasm by some 40-plus skaters that showed up. Pat Parnell, Mark Shays, and myself flew out to the Windy City to share judging duties with local skater Tracy White, probably. The contest consisted of 4 categories: droolers, stud boys, freak show, and women's. 3 different events: street, spine mini ramp, and vert. The skaters were judged on style, creativity, and difficulty. Some highlights of the competition were the women's class. Originally, there wasn't going to be one, but the ladies came and there was no denying their place in our sport. So we got in touch with our feminine side and were treated to some spirited competition. Katie Kingo ruled the street course with some of the most progressive skating seen all day: frontside grinds, soul grinds, pelvet thrusts. Melissa Harned dropped in on vert for the first time, and Ginger Conrad dominated the mini ramp competition with an impressive trick vocabulary, including 360s, full cabs, and 2 fisted inverts. Ralph Koch and Dion Roldan were in full flipping capacity. Ralph was pulling backflips with full twists, and Dion was skying over the box. So here, since I cannot find the thing, this is the picture. This way, there. This is the page. There is a PDF. I will update the PDF with this scan. I don't know why I didn't make it in. I know that I scanned it, but it didn't make it on the live stream, so the PDF should have it. Continues. Since I can't continue on the page, I won't. With huge grabbed backflips that he wired after the competition. Ralph and Dion also showed a more progressive side with frontside grinds and creative lines, like Dion's frontside grind to transfer from the 6-foot quarter pipe to the 3-foot quarter. Partners in line of Burnsville, Minnesota were in full effect, demonstrating the most progressive skating of the contest. Steve Thomas, the street, spine, and overall winner, and Dan Jensen, 4th Street, 2nd vert, and 2nd mini, had the purest street style. Steve Thomas ran away with the competition with cutting-edge tricks, like a soul grind down the fun box, escalator to fakie, frontside and backside rail slides, fast plant 360s on the mini, and a full cab to stall to revert. Congratulations to everyone who participated. The levels of enthusiasm and talent represented were promising and truly impressive. Our sport is headed in the right direction. Special thanks to Art, Paulie, Vince, and all of the guys at Scrap who made it happen, and who made our stay in Illinois unforgettable. And extra special thanks to Vince, who tried to kill me. So Steve Thomas should need no introduction. Steve Thomas, first saw him in Harvesting the Crust. Amazing skater. He was in Hoax 2. Just incredible. Most progressive skater of the time. He was doing spins to grinds. He was doing grinds, true to grinds, stuff like that. He's incredible. Dan Jensen, also with Scribe. He was the designer who designed the 50/50 logo. The stamp logo, the logo that just says 50/50. That's him. Looking at the contest results, there's a picture of Arlo launching from a quarter pipe to frontside grind. And there's a picture of Dion with first place in vert, and some other pictures. Go through the contest. It's really hard to read a lot of these, but the droolers, the street, Tim Hilligons, Aaron Frieden, Dan Breams, Freak Show, Steve Thomas, Ralph Koch, Dion Roldan. Women, Kate Kingo, Ginger Conrad, Melissa Harned. Mini Ramp, Aaron Bremen, Ethan Long, Jamie Paparek, Stud Boys, Paul Bremen, Brian May, who we also know, Vince Falco. Women, Ginger Conrad, Melissa Harned, Kate Kingo. Vert, Freak Show, Dion Roland, Dan Jensen, Ralph Koch. Dan won second in vert, apparently. Women, Kate Kingo and Melissa Harned. Interesting. Here's the page. Since you couldn't see it. Over on the other side, we lead by example. I don't know what this is. Inline Rollerworks ad. There's a 9-foot half pipe, 50% off for a limited time. I don't know why they would do that, but very strange ad. And then another, not an ad, but just a thing. More stuff to think about. Launch 94 is coming sometime in late March. Ramps, pro skaters, bikers, and skateboarders. DJs, smart bars, all night long. Keep your ears peeled for more info. like this ad was in the last one. It seems like they were dying for content. I think I've mentioned that before. Sliding banisters, a Senate ad. With a dude sliding a banister with roller skates and some white pants. Drink to that. Back in October, when I found out about the inline skate competition being held at Jeff Phillips Skate Park in Dallas, I decided it was a good excuse to go home, and I booked a flight. When Jess and Angie found out I was going, they decided it was a good excuse to assign me another article. Yippee. But knowing how rare competitions are in our sport, I agreed it was a good idea and vowed to bring back gripping photos in a thoroughly entertaining article. In spite of being neither a photographer or a thoroughly entertaining, I am incredibly gifted at procrastination. So despite my good intentions, I came back from Texas with little more than good memories and a backpack full of dirty laundry. Out of desperation, I began calling friends in Dallas who had been at the contest, under the guise that it would be good for the magazine to have a local's fresh perspective. I was hoping that someone else would write the article. Incredibly, I discovered that a friend, Louis Statman, had already written an article and was hoping to submit it to Inline. Inline was a different magazine. I think they handled recreational and fitness as well as a little bit of aggressive. Although Louis doesn't actually inline skate, I was happy to finally be exonerated of my literary duties, and Jess and Angie. I'm sure we're very happy to have an article, minus my crappy photos. What follows is Louis's article, edited by me. Louis has been skateboarding for about a decade, and has been somewhat of a fixture at that Jeff Phillips, but doesn't know shit from shinola when it comes to inline skating. I edited the story wherever it absolutely needed it, but left the rest of it pretty much as it is, with some editor's notes along the way to help you through, and all of Louis's questionable words and comments in bold print. Sure, the contest was scheduled to start at 3 or 3:30 p.m., maybe even 4, but it finally got underway at a laid-back 5:45. The contest consisted of 2 one-minute runs in the street bowl section of the park and 2 45-second runs in the vert ramp. The vert ramp is 11 feet tall and 32 feet wide, with 1.5 feet of vert. The bowled-in street area ranges in height from 2 feet to 7 feet, with 3 feet, 4 feet, and 5 feet between, as well as a 5-foot hip, a rail slide bar, and a vertical bridge over a doorway. This place is nuts. Editor's note, I was going to take this out, but thought it would help you to understand Louis. The few minor drawbacks were the PA, which arrived 3 hours late, the park lights, which left the spine ramp in relative darkness, and the 3-hour delay in getting things off the ground, so to speak. On the good side, it was a solid local contest, which can only help the sport, and it was not called Universal Intergalactic Stunt Championships of America. No one griped about the judging either, but the crowd was fairly small, but hey, Arlo Eisenberg was there in demo and judging capacity with nice backflips on vert, I might add. Sean Badger was in judging capacity only. He was sporting a broken yellow cast on his freshly broken leg. A bright yellow cast on his freshly broken leg. A few highlights of the contest included Kyle Simon's bowl to street section to head transfer. It's a good thing he was wearing a Protec helmet because Kyle got up and finished his run with tricks like grinds on the vert door bridge and a waist-down air to fakie over the hip, as well as several lip tricks and a hand plant for good measure. Hunter Bywaters had strong runs with plenty of speed and a variety of tricks, including both frontside and backside slides. Editor's note, I will replace slides with grinds for the rest of the article. Airs from the bowl to the street section and back, an invert and his trademark front flip roll out over the hip. This kid is only 16 and he learned most of his tricks in the last 4 months. Hunter will undoubtedly continue to improve on his own, and first place in the contest shouldn't hurt. Third place was taken by Willie. I never caught her last name. Yes, I said her. A girl skating with the boys. She skated smooth and consistent with a mix of airs, grinds, lip tricks, and only one fall during the entire contest. Since the winners were decided by vert and street results combined, everyone was encouraged to skate in the vert contest. The leaders continued to battle it out for the overall prize. Hunter skated strong with airs, both two-handed and one-handed hand plants, grinds, skate grab airs, and 2 close attempts at 360-degree airs. Kyle skated smooth with an assortment of tweaked airs, grinds, and a number of lip tricks and grinds, which would make almost anyone smile. Editor's note: I think this is an attempt of humor by Lewis, who must think rhyming smile with Kyle is funny. Maybe even Bob Dole, maybe not. Editor's note: Lewis lost me here. I have no idea why this is supposed to be funny. Gordon Johnson and Mike Gilbert skated well in the vert contest with a barrage of airs and lip tricks. Aaron Robinson and Willie also had consistent runs on the big vert ramp. Special thanks to Stacy at Inline Gear and the guys at Jeff Phillips Skate Park for putting on this contest. Overall, the contest was fun, and if you go to Dallas, be sure to check out Jeff Phillips Skate Park. This is the page. There. A whole sea of text. There's a picture of Sean Badger doing a backside in a very blurry picture. They didn't take it too seriously back then, or at least Arlo didn't. Ooh. They sure took this seriously, though. This is amazing. Front side in UCLA with like serious Jet Set Radio style setup. These big wheels, the shorts. There with shorts, super famous photo. Looks like he's fallen off that back foot. He needs to turn his hips a little bit more. You can see his trailing arm needs to be turned a little bit more. That was street back then. That was like no pads on this guy. He's just out there skating. He's got wrist guards maybe. No helmet. No pads. Taking it to the street. Don't subscribe? What? No way. Free CDS grind plates to the first 50 subscribers. Because you don't want to be caught with my pants down. Send check or money order in US currency. I don't know who this is, but it never hurts to have a girl with short shorts in your magazine for prepubescent boys reading this. Daily Bread Reader Survey. So how many of you found last month's reader survey coming back to you? All right, so we messed up in our envelope design. Our address was supposed to be in the large box, not yours. So apparently they screwed up, which is so funny. Another reader survey, and then they asked what they thought of each of the articles, which was really interesting. I guess they were really trying to figure out what Daily Bread was going to be. You know, it was issue 3, and they didn't really know. Really interesting, though, if you look at this. So this is the survey. If you look at the Pat Parnell picture, and get even closer, you can see his hat. He's wearing a Box Magazine hat. Pat and Chris were responsible for Box. They started Box Magazine. I don't have a ton of old Box magazines. I have a few that I'll read. I don't have any from back in this day, though. I think I donated them and hope they're off to a better place now. And then finally, the Rossi's Moscow ad. You can see clearly this amazing skate. This frame was so progressive back then. So it had a clear split system. You could see the wheels were split. 70 millimeter Hyper Fat Boy wheels with ABEC 3s. That's incredible. Memory foam liners. Shock absorbing plus system gel anatomic footbed. I don't know that the glide pin axle system made it anywhere, but definitely aluminum frames and split systems were super progressive. And then the back cover, Arlo on a Cosmo ad I don't remember Arlo skating for Cosmo. So this must have been the right before Senate made wheels ad. I don't think he ever really had a wheel sponsor aside from Senate, but apparently he skated for Cosmo for a little bit. They were really the only wheel company out there aside from Hyper, right? So it's not like he had very many options. But check that out. Alley-oop Soul. Technically, we would call that a Soyal now, because he is on the outside edge of his groove foot. But he's definitely, I mean, he would be completely boot down. I mean, this was definitely a Toyal, they would call it. But he would be very boot down if he had sole plates, and it would be a proper Soyal. So progressive. Oh my god. I mean, what made him think he could do that? But again, it was just a variety off of what they knew. They didn't know topside tricks. They didn't know farside. It was called farside back then, ish. They didn't know farside jumping over rails. They didn't know Royale, because as soon as you did that, you would slip out, because they didn't know you needed a deep groove, you need to bend your legs, you need to squat. They didn't know acid soles or Mizus or X grinds or anything like that. It was soul grinds and it was front sides, and then you could do it backwards. So you could do a backside, you could do that backwards, and you do a soul grind backwards. So you do alley-oop soul. They would call it alley-oop because you would jump into it just like a vert. So you'd go into the rail, jump alley-oop, come back down, and lock on and do a soul on the way down. It was a great issue. Thank you for joining me through this reading of Daily Bread issue 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your comments. Please let me know in the YouTube what you thought of this episode. I got some really great feedback last time, and I appreciate everybody's time. Also, if you have any good Scotch recommendations for $40 or under, leave that in the comments too. I think other people would appreciate that. Hope you're all safe. Hope you're all being well, and I'll see you next time.